What's up, everyone? I've got a busy day ahead, but I'll do my best to drop 3 or 4 videos today. Let's go. I was publicly crucified on Instagram by my boss's wife. She tagged me on Instagram, claiming I had been flirting with her husband, messaging him at midnight and still pretending to be so innocent. She wrote for the world to see. Her next story showed me walking into the office that morning. The caption read, "An intern carrying a $15,000 designer bag to work. Wonder where she got the money." When I went to my boss for an explanation, he just chuckled. "Don't take it seriously. My wife's just emotional. She gets carried away when it comes to me." The next morning, when he received his termination notice, I smiled pleasantly and said, "Don't take it seriously either. My father just gets protective." It was nearly 11 p.m. on a Tuesday when I caught a serious issue in the Apex project contract. A small alteration, extending the payment term by 60 days, had slipped through unnoticed. It looked insignificant, but it would choke the company's cash flow. I immediately sent a message to my direct supervisor. "Mark, there's a critical problem in the Apex contract. Please call me when you see this." A minute later, my phone buzzed. The number wasn't familiar. "Hello," I answered. A woman's angry voice erupted through the speaker. "Who is this? Why are you calling my husband in the middle of the night?" I blinked in confusion. "I'm his colleague, GRA." She didn't let me finish. "Colleague? Do you always work with married men at this hour? What exactly are you trying to do?" Keeping my tone even, I said, "There's a serious flaw in Clause 7.3. It's a high-risk issue. If Mark can't address it now, I'll escalate it to the CEO's office first thing in the morning." For a moment, there was only silence. Then she spat back. "Don't play dumb. Every homewrecker says she's working. You'll regret this," she hissed, and hung up. The next morning, I had barely logged in when chaos walked through the door. A furious woman marched straight toward me, her expression wild. She slammed her palm on my desk, making my pen jump. "So it's you," she snapped. "You're the tramp sending late-night messages to my husband." Her voice sliced through the chatter, freezing the entire office. Everyone turned to stare. "You pretend to be sweet and innocent," she sneered. "Does your mother know what kind of girl you really are?" My cheeks burned, but I kept my composure. "Ma'am, there's been a misunderstanding. Last night's message was about misunderstanding." She gave a cold laugh. "You're just an intern, aren't you?" Her eyes scanned my outfit before landing on my bag. "That handbag. 15,000, right? Where does an intern get that kind of money?" Whispers rippled through the office. I could feel every gaze on me, some entertained, others judgmental. Then Mark appeared, his face arranged in a look of helpless concern. "Jessica, please," he said softly. "Not here." She shook off his hand. "Oh, so now you're protecting her?" She turned to me, her voice sharp enough to cut glass. "Stay away from my husband, little intern. You're out of your league." Mark sighed and walked closer, placing a hand on my shoulder. "Grace," he said smoothly, "don't mind her. My wife just loves me too much. She doesn't mean it." I brushed his hand away, my tone calm but firm. If being sensitive means refusing to tolerate public slander and workplace harassment, then yes, I'm very sensitive. I paused, letting the silence hang before adding. "And for the record, the bag was a graduation gift. For my father." Mark's face flushed red as he grabbed his wife's arm and pulled her away. The office stayed deathly quiet for a few seconds, then the whispers began. "Did you see that bag?" I checked online. "It's a limited edition Celine. $15,000. For an intern?" Looks like the wife might have been right. When I looked up, the gossipers instantly ducked their heads, pretending to type. Not one person spoke to me for the rest of the day. If someone needed office supplies, they'd walk halfway across the room to avoid asking me, as if I carried a disease. A gentle clink on my desk broke the silence, a steaming cup of coffee. Lily from accounting smiled down at me, concern etched on her face. "Grace, don't listen to the others," she said softly. "Jessica just has a bit of a temper. She's not really a bad person." Her tone lowered conspiratorially. "And don't take the comments about your bag personally. People are just curious, you know? It's not every day an intern shows up with something like that. We all know how much interns make." She gasped, pretending to regret her words. "Oh, I shouldn't have said that." Her pitying look didn't fool me. Behind it, I caught the faint sparkle of satisfaction. I didn't touch the coffee. "Thanks," I said flatly. "But I don't drink instant." The corners of her smile faltered. I didn't wait another second. I went straight to Mark's office. He looked up when I entered, an eager smile lighting his face. Grace, there you are. Come in. I didn't sit down. Mark, I expect your wife to issue a public apology. Today. The smile wavered. Grace, you're taking this way too seriously. Women get emotional. It's jealousy, that's all. He stood and circled around his desk toward me. I stepped back instinctively. He reached over and clicked the lock on the door. The sound made my stomach twist. When he turned back, his eyes swept over me. You know, he said with a smirk, Jessica might have been onto something. And in turn with that kind of bag, maybe you do have someone funding your lifestyle. He leaned closer, his cologne thick and suffocating. Why settle for some old sponsor when you could have someone like me? I actually have power here. I met his gaze without flinching. You should be careful, Mark. Keep pushing, and I won't be responsible for what comes next. He chuckled, arrogant. Grace, don't make this difficult. I'm offering you an opportunity. Stick with me and you'll go far, farther than any intern could dream of. I smiled coldly. You've given me a lot to think about. I'll let you know once I've decided whether to take your offer or report it. Before he could react, I unlatched the door and walked out. A few curious faces quickly vanished behind cubicle walls. The hum of gossip picked up again, louder this time. I told you, she's been playing him. Did you notice? They locked the door. Guess she's not so innocent after all. By afternoon, the entire office had a new theory that I was a sugar baby. Each version got uglier. I didn't bother defending myself. Explaining only feeds the fire. My real job here was to audit irregularities in the branch accounts, not to star in a scandal. Lily found me in the break room, concern painted across her face. Grace, she said softly, don't let it get to you. There's no shame in earning your keep however you can. Her false sympathy was just another jab. I stirred my coffee slowly. You know, Lily, too much junk food can make people stupid. Her eyes flicked to the half-eaten bag of chips in her hand, and her face turned pale. That night, while reviewing project documents, I noticed a few inconsistencies in the expense reports. Before I could follow the trail, my phone rang. It was my dad. So the whole branch is buzzing about you now. His tone was amused. You can't stay out of trouble for even a week, can you? I smiled faintly. Just office gossip, Dad. Nothing worth worrying about. The next morning, I walked into the accounting department to submit my expense report. The moment I entered, voices dropped, and every head turned. Lily stood up, smiling too sweetly. Grace, here to file your expenses? I handed her the forms. She flipped through them, humming. Oh, this is for your business trip with Mark, right? That's quite the amount. Client dinners, I said evenly. Male clients, I assume, she teased, covering her mouth as she giggled. The smirk on her face said everything. The looks from her colleagues turned sharp, judging. I met her eyes. Lily, spreading lies can have legal consequences. Her smile froze, then recovered. It was a joke. Relax. We're all friends here. She shoved my forms into a drawer. Payroll's due today, so your reimbursement might take a while. I hope you don't mind, Grace. She leaned closer, whispering, some of us don't have your advantages to get on the manager's good side. A few people chuckled behind her. I smiled sweetly. If you're that eager to impress Mark, maybe you should transfer to his department and try it yourself. The room went silent. I turned and left, slamming the door behind me. Back at my desk, my phone wouldn't stop buzzing, messages from unknown numbers flooding in. Die, homewrecker. You think you can ruin someone's marriage? We know where you live. I opened the company group chat. Chaos. Someone had posted a link titled, Exposed, the scheming intern who seduces married men. The author's handle was Jessica Speaks. The post featured a photo of me holding a cup of coffee, my handbag circled in red. Below, it was a clipped voice recording, part of a conversation I'd had with my best friend, twisted out of context. He gave it to me, of course I'll take it. Just a small thing. That small thing had been a birthday gift from my father. But now, paired with blurry hotel surveillance shots of me and Mark entering a client event, it looked damning. The comment section was a nightmare, my number, my university, even my home address plastered everywhere. Then my phone rang again. My dad's voice was calm, but firm. You don't have to tolerate this, sweetheart. He's just a manager, not a king. At the same time, another message appeared, from Mark. Sleep with me, and I'll make her delete the post and apologize. Deal? I locked my phone screen. exhaled slowly, and answered my father's call. 10 minutes after I ended the call, I sat back at my desk. Eyes darted toward me from every direction, some filled with curiosity, some with pity, most with quiet delight at my supposed downfall. I ignored them and returned to my report, fingers steady over the keyboard. An hour later, the glass door opened. The entire office froze. The head of human resources, Mr. Peterson, stepped in, flanked by two senior managers. His expression was carved from stone. He went straight into Mark's office. Moments later, Mark emerged, straightening his tie, wearing that smug, confident smirk I'd grown to despise. "Mr. Peterson," he said with forced charm, "you didn't have to come all the way down here. If this is about the intern situation, I've already—" Mr. Peterson cut him off, handing over a sealed envelope. "Mark Thompson, due to your conduct, which has seriously damaged the company's reputation, your employment is hereby terminated. Effective immediately." Mark blinked, stunned. "You're firing me? Because of her? An intern?" His voice cracked. "This is ridiculous." I stepped forward, past the stunned onlookers, and stopped beside him. Leaning close, I said quietly, "Don't take it personally. My dad just loves me a lot." Mark froze. His lips parted, his eyes wide. "Your dad?" I smiled sweetly and turned to the office crowd.
"Yes."
"Arthur Grace." The reaction was instant. A collective gasp rippled through the room. Arthur Grace, founder and CEO of Grace Corporation. The same name printed on every document in this building. Faces drained of color. The same people who had whispered and mocked me now couldn't even meet my eyes. Lily looked particularly pathetic. Her coffee cup slipped from her hand, splattering across the carpet unnoticed. Mark's gaze darted between me, Mr. Peterson, and the Celine bag on my desk, the one that had supposedly proved my affair. The irony seemed to hit him all at once. "Miss Grace," he stammered, "this is all a misunderstanding. I had no idea." "Oh." I tilted my head. "So, if I weren't the chairman's daughter, you'd still think I deserved all this?" He sputtered. "No, that's not." I turned to Mr. Peterson. "Thank you, Peter. Please continue." Peter nodded curtly. "Mr. Thompson, you have 15 minutes to gather your belongings. Security will escort you out. Legal will contact you regarding ongoing investigations into financial misconduct and harassment." "Financial misconduct?" Mark repeated, his voice weak. I smiled thinly. "What? You thought this was only about gossip? The Apex contract, Mark, those numbers don't balance. I'm sure legal will enjoy discussing that with you." For once, Mark didn't have a comeback. He just stood there, pale and trembling, as security let him out. The office was silent. You could have heard a pin drop. I strolled to Lily's desk and tapped twice on the edge. She flinched so hard, she almost dropped her pen. Miss Grace," she whispered. I sat across from her, calm and deliberate. "So, Lily," I said, smiling faintly, "can my travel expenses be processed now?"
"Yes."
"Right away," she blurted, rummaging frantically through drawers. I didn't take the forms. "No rush," I said. "You mentioned the expenses were excessive, didn't you?" Her eyes went wide. No, they're completely reasonable. You worked so hard." "Oh, and the part about me, entertaining male clients." Lily looked ready to cry. "I didn't mean it. Please, Miss Grace, I was just being stupid." I sighed, bored. "You wanted to impress Mark, right? Here's your chance." She froze. "I want every financial document related to Project Apex, and every transaction record from all projects Mark handled in the past 2 years. On my desk before 5. I started walking away, then paused at the door. "Oh, and Lily?" She looked up, shaking. "Mark's office? It's mine now." Mark's wife wasn't as easy to erase. Her Instagram post had gone viral, reposted, quoted, and dissected by strangers who had no idea what they were talking about. But my legal team was faster. Within 30 minutes, they traced the post to her account, filed takedown requests, and served a cease and desist order. Soon my phone rang. The caller ID said Jessica Thompson. Her voice broke before I could even greet her. "Miss Grace, I'm begging you, please. I didn't know who you were. I swear, I was just—" "Jessica," I said, switching my phone to speaker as I reviewed the audit files on my desk. "What exactly are you apologizing for?" For accusing you," she stammered. "For the post. For everything. I'll delete it right now. I'll post a public apology. Whatever you want. You also shared my personal number and home address, I said calmly. That's called doxing. People have gone to jail for less. I'll take it down the second. Please, Miss Grace. Jessica, I said, turning another page. You're crying for the wrong reason. You think this is about me embarrassing you, but it's not. This is about consequences. She sobbed harder. It was Mark. He lied to me. He said you were trying to seduce him. Of course he did. And you believed him because you loved him, right? I said, my tone dry. You thought love gave you permission to destroy someone else's life. A pause. You weren't defending your marriage, I said softly. You were doing his dirty work for him. He made you his weapon. I could almost hear the realization dawn on her. If you don't believe me, I added, ask him why the payment terms in the Apex contract were extended by 60 days. Then I hung up. Something told me Jessica would be asking those questions very soon, probably from a police station. By the next day, Mark's nameplate was gone from the door. Mine was in its place. My father had called earlier, suggesting I let headquarters handle the fallout. But I wasn't leaving. I hadn't come here to hide behind my last name. I came to prove what I could do. I worked through the night, combing through the documents Lily had delivered. Piece by piece, the puzzle revealed itself. The Apex contract's extended payment window wasn't a mistake. It was deliberate. Someone had been moving money, laundering it through fake consulting fees. One name kept popping up, Bright Future Technologies. An $8 million consulting fee, but the company didn't exist. No website, no registered office, just a shell with a bank account. The CEO? Leo Wright. I leaned back in my chair, tapping my pen thoughtfully. Lily Wright. How convenient. When she entered my office the next morning, she looked like a ghost. Lily, I said evenly, sliding the contract across the desk. Do you know this company? She stammered. I don't. That was Mark's. I opened a file. Leo Wright, 63, CEO of Bright Future Technologies. Your father. Her knees buckled. You were hired right after college, I continued. Every project you touched with Mark has one thing in common, inflated payments to Bright Future. Different amounts every time, but together they total more than $2 million. Her face turned ashen. Miss Grace, Don't call me that, I interrupted. Call me Grace. She looked up, dazed. I stood and came around the desk, lowering my voice. Tell me, Lily, did you do it for him? For Mark? Or for the fantasy he sold you? That someday you'd be partners, maybe more? Tears welled in her eyes. I didn't have a choice, she whispered. He had something on me. Lily's story was sadly predictable. A fresh graduate, eager to prove herself, caught in the snare of a manipulative boss. He had promised her mentorship and a shining future, then used her desperation to keep her silent. Somewhere along the way, she had crossed the line from victim to willing accomplice. So you helped him build fake companies, falsify records, and cover his tracks? I asked quietly. She shook her head frantically. I didn't want to. I never meant to hurt you. I was just jealous. There it was. Jealousy. Of my confidence, my calm, my refusal to bend. Of the designer bag she assumed was a trophy of corruption. Of the ease with which I stood my ground while she felt trapped. She had mistaken my strength for privilege and thought that watching me fall might make her feel less small. I watched her crumble on the office floor, her tears streaking the last traces of dignity from her face. You've made your choices, I said coldly. Now it's time to face the consequences. She looked up at me, trembling. Please, I'll do anything. I slid a notebook across the desk. Then start writing. Every name, every deal, every illegal transfer Mark was part of. The more you give us, the better your chances when the police get involved. Hope flickered through her fear. I'll write it all, she whispered. Good, I said. You might still have a chance to save yourself. Her written statement painted an ugly picture. Mark had been treating the company like his private vault, faking invoices, inflating costs, funneling money into shell accounts under Lily's supervision. But the worst part was discovering he hadn't acted alone. His silent partner was none other than the branch's vice president, Bill Warren, one of my father's most trusted employees. My father had sent him here to stabilize the branch, and instead, he built a quiet empire of theft. Mark handled the paperwork, while Bill used his authority to make it all look legitimate. Even the altered payment terms in the Apex contract had Bill's approval stamp. Suddenly, everything made sense. My late-night message hadn't just exposed an error, It had exposed the one thread holding their entire scheme together. They hadn't tried to destroy me because I was an intern. They had done it because I was dangerous. They just didn't realize how dangerous. Once I had gathered enough proof, I sent everything straight to the legal and compliance departments at headquarters. My father didn't call. He didn't need to. He trusted I knew what I was doing. By the next morning, a full audit team arrived at the branch. Within an hour, security escorted both Mark and Bill out of the building. Bill didn't resist. He just looked at me with a weary sort of acceptance, as if he'd known this day would come. Lily's cooperation earned her leniency, but Mark and Bill were finished. Both faced criminal charges for embezzlement and fraud. Jessica, now abandoned and humiliated, posted a tearful apology online, blaming Mark's lies for everything. She even sent me a large sum as compensation for emotional distress. I had my lawyer redirect it to a cyberbullying prevention charity. Maybe that would sting enough to make her think twice next time. By the end of the week, the storm had passed. The office settled back into its rhythm, though the air around me had changed. The gossip had quieted, replaced by hushed awe. I had become something between a myth and a warning, the intern who took down 2 executives. Once the audit wrapped up and the department stabilized, I typed out my resignation letter. Mr. Peterson called me into his office. The chairman says the general manager position is yours if you want it. I smiled. Please thank my father, but I'll pass. This was never my final destination. This branch was just my training ground. The first battle. I had faced my enemies, earned my lessons, and leveled up. The real journey was waiting somewhere far beyond this office, and I was ready to begin. On my final day at the branch, fate decided to give me one last encounter. I ran into Jessica at the coffee shop downstairs. She looked different, tired, yes, but calmer. The wild anger that once burned in her eyes was gone. "Miss Grace," she said softly. "Jessica." I greeted with a polite nod. "Did you need something?" She hesitated, then gave a small, formal bow. "I wanted to apologize again and to thank you." "Thank me?" I raised an eyebrow. A faint smile touched her lips. "For opening my eyes. For showing me who Mark truly was. I filed for divorce, and with everything that came out in court, I was awarded most of our assets." She paused, inhaling deeply as if reclaiming her life in that breath. I spent years believing my worth depended on being the perfect wife. Now I finally understand. I only ever needed to depend on myself. Her expression softened. "I'm using the money to open a flower shop. I studied horticulture once, before I met him. It feels like starting over." For the first time, I smiled at her genuinely. "Then I hope you bloom again, Jessica." "Thank you," she said quietly. "And I hope you do too." We parted without bitterness, 2 women walking separate roads, both finally free.